بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور الحمد لله نستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وبعد. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking His assistance, His guidance, His forgiveness, proclaiming our belief and our trust in Him. We affirm that Allah and Allah alone subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves worship, and that He has sent prophets, and that He has sent messengers throughout time. And we affirm that this process came to a conclusion with the coming of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. A happy time in the life of Muslims is about to begin. And obviously we are speaking about nothing except the month of Ramadan. And non-Muslims find this strange. And I'm sure that among your non-Muslim friends and your non-Muslim family members, they find it strange. They say, why? They may say things like, well, why are you happy to be denying yourself? Because that's what you're doing in Ramadan. You're denying yourself. You're denying yourself food and drink and physical relations. Why would you be happy to deny yourself those things? I'm sure that all of us have heard that question or a version of that question. I'm sure we've all heard this before. Why be happy for the coming of Ramadan? Because for us, it brings forth a reminder or a renewed vigor to seek out that which is the most important. Thus, the Quran tells us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that the purpose of fasting, let me say it's a command. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. He says that fasting as an institution has been ordained on you, just as it's been ordained on communities before your community, before the Muslim community, so that perhaps you will develop in taqwa. لعلكم تتقون. And last week we spent a lot of time talking about the word لعل. Last week we also looked at the Prophet's example, alayhi salatu wassalam, the Prophet's example in fasting, and how he connected the fast, the siyam, how he connected to the development or to the improvement of personal ethics and behavior. And we also gave last week some practical examples of how to have a comfortable and a successful Ramadan. And I'll repeat one of those examples is at your suhoor time or before Fajr time, make sure to have plenty of water. I'm going to demonstrate this right now. I must confess, that's the hardest thing for me to give up. Water. It's the hardest thing. So today, when we want to delve into some of the rules, the ahkam of fasting, and the rules or the ahkam of fasting that we're going to mention are largely derived from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The first point is niyyah. Niyyah. Proper intention. And I admit that these scholars differ as to whether you should recite the words of niyyah loudly every day, or just make it one niyyah at the beginning of Ramadan, or rather you have to even verbalize the niyyah, the intention at all. I admit there's a lot of disagreement and a lot of discussion about that in Islamic scholarship. However, in the niyyah that we have in the sunnah, we have some texts that inform us about certain verbalized niyyah that is associated with the Prophet himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one of those texts that are found in the Prophet's in that which is associated with the Prophet ﷺ, one of those texts contains very important points for this discussion. And so it goes, نويت أن الصوم غدا من شهر رمضان المبارك فرضا لك فاتقبل مني إنك أنت السميع العليم. It is my intention, this is the translation, it is my intention to fast tomorrow in the blessed month of Ramadan, fardan laka, as an obligation to you, meaning to Allah, fattaqal minni, so accept from me. Verily you are the hearer and the knower. Innaka anta sami alim. This is one of the du'as that is used as intention, as niyyah for Ramadan. So, I'm not really going to get into whether it's, well, you have to say the niyyah every day and all that, or you have to say it, or even if you have to say it at all. But rather, what I want to get into is that particular text tells us something important. It tells us that our hearts must be in the right place. Meaning that we're not fasting out of social pressure because everybody else is fasting. We're not fasting for a diet. We're not fasting for a fad because Kim Kardashian is fasting. We're not fasting for those reasons. Rather, we are fasting for Allah. And we are fasting because it is fardul laka. We are fasting because it is an obligation as a believer for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fattaqab minni, or fattaqab minna, because we desire that it be acceptable in the sight of God. So even if you don't verbalize the niyyah, even if you don't say the words, although admittedly the sunnah seems to suggest that you should, but even if you don't follow that opinion, have your mind focused on doing this to remove barriers and to develop closer ties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because quite frankly, fasting is something that is only done for Allah. Really. Fasting is something that is only done for Allah. And another hadith says that Allah says that fasting, the reward for it is me. Is God Himself. Second point in terms of ahkam from with regards to fasting. What if you accidentally what if you accidentally eat? Or you accidentally drink? Accidentally eating, meaning that you forgot that you were fasting. You know, maybe you force a habit. Force a habit, you go to the water fountain. Force a habit, you take a sip of tea or whatever. And then you remember that you're fasting. Now, accidentally breaking your fast does not annul your fast. So if, for example, you take some water, you take some food, and then in the middle of it you realize, oh my goodness, I'm fasting. Well, what are you supposed to do? You just continue fasting. Alright? You just continue on with the fast. Third thing, and I'm only giving some things which I believe are important and relevant. And as the month goes on, inshallah ta'ala, we may perhaps go into some more things. If you are sick, or you're traveling substantial distances, one doesn't fast, but rather one would make qada later, meaning that you would have to do that fast. The day that you missed, you have to make it up later. So, again, travelers are exempted from fasting. Like people who are traveling, like certain distances are exempted from fasting. Sick people are exempted from fasting. Perpetually sick people are exempted from fasting. Pregnant women are exempted from fasting. Menstruating women are exempted from fasting. They're also exempted from prayer. Normally, we don't dive too much into ahkam and fiqh. Normally, we don't do a lot of that here. But it seems important to do with regards to the month of Ramadan. Because we want to have a successful Ramadan, inshallah. To borrow an expression, a Christian expression, we don't want just the spirit of the law. We actually want the law itself. We don't abandon the law. We want the spirit, but we cannot abandon the law. Meaning the law of God. We cannot abandon the law of God. We cannot abandon the law of Islam. So we want spirit, yes, but we don't want to abandon the core. Because there is perfect, authentic balance in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And last week I believe we went through some examples of that, but this deen and fasting, the Ramadan fast is a perfect example of how balanced the teachings of Islam really are. We pray unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our fasts, to accept our prayers, and any good that we may do. Ameen. Qawlu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم وبعد. One of the greatest scholars that this ummah has ever seen has given in his writings very important tips when it comes to fasting. And this scholar is Abu Hamid Al Ghazali, rahimahullah ta'ala, or simply Imam Al Ghazali, rahimahullah ta'ala, who was born in the year 1058, Common Era. And, today's Muslims, in today's Islamic discourse, this Imam Al Ghazali, this Imam is dismissed. They say his most important work, the Ihya Ulum ad-Din, they say that 2/3 of the narrations are weak narrations, or they're mawdu' or fake narrations, falsely attributed to the Prophet ﷺ. And they call him all kinds of names in today's Islamic discourse. And People have the right to agree and disagree with anything that they hear, as long as it doesn't contradict the Kitab and the Sunnah. Everyone has the right to disagree, no problem. But that doesn't mean that we can't benefit from this great Imam. He was a great spiritual intellectual giant of the Ummah. And he has some advice that I want to share. And I hope if you paid attention to anything from the khutbah, or remember anything from the khutbah, please remember these things. So, Imam Al Ghazali says, he gives 6 tips in his Ihya Ulum ad-Din. There's a book called Ihya Ulum ad-Din. It's a big book. The translation is the revival of religious sciences. Ihya Ulum ad-Din. He gives 6 tips with regards to perfecting the fast. Not just to fast, but to perfect the fast. He gives 6 tips. And I want to share those 6 tips. Tip number 1. Restraining the eyes from looking at that which distracts us from Allah, especially that which arouses one's carnal appetites. I think that's a self-explanatory statement. Number 2, restraining the tongue from foolish talks, including arguments. And this derives from the Prophet's Sunnah, by the way. It is mentioned in the hadith literature that if someone comes to you with the intention of arguing, you tell him, inni sa'im, I'm fasting. Leave me alone, man, I'm fasting. Inni sa'im. Third tip, to restrain the ear from listening to that which is improper to listen. Tip number 4, restraining hands, feet, and all body parts from indecencies. Tip number 5. It's a little different from his other tips. Tip number 5 says, remember, perfecting the siyam, the fast. Don't break the fast with doubtful or haram food. Well, I've seen a lot of this. You know, there are people, when they break, see the Prophet's way, peace be upon him, the Prophet's way was to break his fast with water and to break his fast with dates. You know, these are natural items. But I have seen people break their fast not with dates and water, but with cigarettes. And even make the dua. Allahumma sumtu laka wa tawakkaltu ala rizqika aftartu bi rahmataka ya arhamar rahimin. I've seen that. I've seen that. And it's not relevant to me for the moment if that is halal or haram. But at the very least, don't break your fast with that. At the very least, don't break your fast. God gives you dates, God gives you water, God gives you all kinds of natural things, and instead you want to go Newport 100 in the box? And this refers to all kinds of things. I don't want to be discriminatory. You know, the hookah. Many people from the Khalij know what the hookah is. Qat. Qat. One person definitely knows in this room what qat is. You know qat is illegal in Ohio? So I'm doing you a favor by reminding you about this, aren't I? People breaking their fast on these things. Use Ramadan as a chance to remove your addictions to these things. And I don't care if it's halal or good for the economy. That's not my point. Use this as an opportunity to remove those habits from your habits. Again, whether it's cigarettes, or marijuana, or qad, or hookah, or tobacco, whatever it is, use this month as a chance to remove it from your life. If you can do it, if you can restrain yourself from Fajr to Maghrib for a month, then you can, if you can do that for just that amount of time, you can conquer it for the rest of your life. Wallahi, you can conquer it for the rest of your life. And remember, Allah says, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. That God doesn't place on any soul burdens that it doesn't have the capacity to bear. So you can do it. You can do it. The sixth tip that the Imam Al Ghazali gives, may Allah have mercy on him, is one should be worried if one's fast was even accepted by Allah. So that's a powerful one. Meaning, don't be complacent or presumptuous that you just assume that it's all right. This is a discussion that we constantly find within religion. You know, there are people who maybe follow the spirit, who follow the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. And I mentioned that earlier. You don't want to, you want the spirit, yes, that's true, the spirit of the law, what the law intends. But that doesn't give you license to break the law, the laws of Allah. So you want to know, so don't even be worried if God even accepts your fasting. And we can argue the same thing with regards to prayer. There are people who can do the movements of prayer, but their mind is on NFL. Their mind is on a game. Their mind is on a job. Their mind is on their money. Their mind is on their whatever. So, you know what that involves? Or I should say, how do we practically follow that sixth tip from Imam Al Ghazali? We have to be serious in introspection. We have to involve ourselves in serious introspection. You know, was I really on it today or not? You have to really think about that. And that's a hard thing to do. There are people in denial all over this world. They are in denial about their health. They're in denial about their various conditions in life. You see, Islam is a religion that does a lot to make you recognize truth, to make you recognize reality. That's a stronger word. This is one of the reasons why alcohol is haram. This is one of the reasons why alcohol is haram. You don't want to pretend that the problems aren't there. Rather, you want to confront them. And as a Muslim, you can not only confront them, but you can conquer them. And as we mention often these days, think of the philosophy behind the dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna tiba'an. You're praying to God to show us truth as truth and give us the ability to follow it. So it's not enough to recognize that something is harmful for you, but you have to act upon that knowledge. And many other hadith speaks about the importance of useful knowledge. Allahumma inna nas'aluka 'ilman nafi'a, useful knowledge. So the dua continues, the dua of the Prophet. وَأَنْرَوْ بَاطِلًا And to show us batil as batil. No. Let us be able to recognize that which is not only harmful, but just ridiculous and weak and vain. Show us batil as batil. And give us the ability to abstain from it. So this religion is a religion that is always seeking to open up your eyes. Not just your hearts, not just our hearts, but this is a religion that is constantly seeking to open up our eyes to realities and to make us confront those realities. And if there are problems ahead of us, to conquer those problems. We're going to hear a lot about this as Ramadan goes on, because this is one of the most important things. There's a non-Muslim writer that I read a while back who wrote a biography of the Prophet ﷺ. And this writer is not a Muslim, meaning someone who doesn't believe in that Muhammad was a prophet, someone who disbelieves in that. This person made an interesting observation. They say, look, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing. It says, look, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Muhammad was somebody who was orphaned early on, right? He was orphaned early on. His father died before he was born. His mother died when he was 6 years old. And throughout his life, he went through a variety of issues or a variety of problems. But going back to the whole issue of being an orphan, that didn't hold him back. That didn't make him a hateful person. That didn't make him a person that was unable to function. I mean, in today's life, in today's world, that's precisely what happens. People are unable often they're unable to lift themselves out of those conditions. They might be 40, 50, 60 years old and still suffering from the effects of things that happened in their childhood. But and there's a whole industry, counseling industry, psychology. There's a whole industry where clients are going and they're talking about their childhood to different sorts of therapists. There's a whole industry like that they have been able to recover. And in some respects, if you study that industry closely, it thrives on it. Meaning, in some senses, they're teaching you that you can't really recover. All you can do is come to therapy for a couple hours a week and spend the money and sit on the couch and list your problems. Well, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet of Allah, he was able to do it. He didn't. Those types of things did not hold him back. Yes, there were moments of sadness in his life and pain in his life, but aren't there moments of sadness in our lives? Aren't there moments of pain in our lives? That's part of the process of living life. But you don't let those things hold you back. And this is why, this is perhaps one of the most important reasons why Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a good model. Notice what the Quran says. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ. Important phrase here. لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَيَوْمُ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. And 3 important phrases. That the Prophet is a model for any who has hope. It doesn't say who believe. It says many who have hope. Their hope is in God. And they're not only in God. It mentions 3 things. That their hope is within them. Am I translating correctly? That God is the object of their hope. In the final day. They're not afraid of Judgment Day. They're not afraid of dying. For those people, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a goodly model. And finally, لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرِ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. And who contemplate, who remember Allah often.